Good day, beautiful people. This is Natalie Silver with Life Treasures and Golden Moments. Welcome back to my podcast, where I like to share with you true stories of miracles and stories of love and inspiration. This is the month of February, and so this month I would like to share some stories with you about the heart and love and giving. And today's story is a story called Love That Burns Eternal. And our author is Christy Caballero. When most love stories speak of flames, it is a description of passion that makes this love story completely the same and totally different from all others. The love began at least a year earlier. The flames arrived on the day after Christmas. At age 19, Brian was incredibly fit and dangerously handsome. A Keanu Reeves look-alike with a flawless dark complexion, a gift of European, Thai, and Native American family tree. At work harvesting trees that cold December day, he took a short break to grab some lunch and to warm his hands over a fire. Some nearby cedar really lit up the fire already burning in the small barrel. The kindling worked almost too well. Tempering the flames with a bucket of water seemed like a good idea. Brian's supervisor was eating a sandwich when he heard the explosion. Launching himself from the small trailer office, Dan Klopman saw Brian at ground zero of a 25-foot fireball. Running hard to reach him, he watched as the youth, engulfed in flames, rolled on the ground and then lay still. Copland rolled Brian on the ground, but the fire was hungry. He attacked the brutal flames with his own bare hands, ripping away burning clothing, searing his own flesh in the process. To no avail. He realized that the only way to save Brian was to leave him. He rushed to the shop for a blanket to smother the fire. It worked. There was no time to wait for the ambulance. They were too far off the beaten path. Klopman and his wife, Angelie, lifted Brian into their van and hurled down the 15-foot winding miles separating them from the hospital. Copland gripped the steering wheel, shut out the agony of his own pain, and he flew. The emergency room of the local hospital could only stabilize Brian. They then sped him off in an ambulance, siren screaming, to Emanuel Burns Center in Portland, Oregon, about 70 miles away. His case was uncharted terrain for even the experienced doctors. Triple-layer, full-thickness burns cover more than 96% of Brian's body. No one before had entered the burn center this badly injured and survived. But the young man's heart kept beating. Surgery followed surgery, and a war was waged against infection. The surly assailant claimed one limb after the other, each amputation a calculated sacrifice made against the goal of saving his life. Odds for his survival were non-existent. Still, one day slipped into the next, and hope reached a tiny shoot toward the sun. All the while, the love of Brian's life hung suspended in the balance. The warm light of young love had faded to the cold fluorescence of hospital corridor. The gentle touch of a perfect romance had given way to the hard reality of an imperfect, burn-scarred world. But as each difficult day unfolded, it became evident that there would be one certain survivor of this ordeal: the love between Brian and his fiancée, Haley. Then came the heart-wrenching day when a life-threatening infection demanded amputation of both of his hands and forearms. Afterward, when Haley came out of his room, she smiled a gentle, hopeful smile. She said she had been talking to him, hoping her voice would reach through his coma, and patting his shoulder through the cushion of bandages. "It was just like holding his hand," she said. "It's going to be all right." Brian regained consciousness to find that he had lost both hands, both forearms, and his left foot at mid-calf. But that didn't change Haley's love for him. She remembered how Brian had helped her learn to accept herself. Now Haley, in turn, took the first step in helping Brian to accept himself, to cope with the aftermath of his injuries. One of the first things she told him when he was fighting his way back to consciousness was a simple but poignant message. "I bought my wedding dress last Sunday." Smiles are rare in the burn ward. Brian's was broad and genuine, and it carried him through more surgeries, the loss of part of his other foot, and blindness. An epic love story was written in that smile. Brian and Haley had their wedding day. She was beautiful. It didn't matter that Brian couldn't see her. He felt her radiance. If he could have looked around, he would have seen a chapel literally filled to the capacity with well-wishers, most with tear-stained faces. Brian's father proudly pushed his son's wheelchair down the aisle. There at the altar, the young groom sat in silent anticipation, smiling reverently as Haley walked down the aisle toward him. The ceremony was full of music, wonder, and celebration, but nothing prepared the guests for the moments to come. Silence filled the chapel as Brian's father, Mo, stepped to his son's side and helped him rise from his wheelchair to stand on prosthetic feet. When his bride-to-be rested her hand on his upper arm, Brian stood as a whole man, ready to wed the girl of his dreams, who had been by his side through a horrific nightmare. Brian spoke his vows in measured tones, through lips that had been painfully stretched and surgically given a semblance of their former shape. Haley spoke her vows in the reverent way she always knew she would. Brian's father, who stepped in as best man, gently placed the wedding ring on Haley's finger. The bride had a ring for the groom, too. It didn't matter that he no longer had a finger on which to place it. She had threaded the ring onto a chain, which she now placed lovingly around his neck. Through it all, Brian stood. No knight in shining armor ever stood taller. When he kissed his bride, every heart in the audience skipped a beat. Then Brian and Haley turned to face their guest, smiling, walked down the aisle as man and wife. It may sound simple. It wasn't. Brian walked down that long aisle on prosthetic feet, unable to see where he was going, guided by his new wife, Haley. He didn't make a single misstep. Many words have been written about courage, about resolve, about overcoming adversity, about the healing power of love. Those testimonies would be incomplete without these two words, Brian and Haley. That is truly a love story like no other. A compelling story of something that happened to ordinary people. When you listen to something like that, it kind of lifts the human spirit to know that there is such special love, eternal love. May they both be blessed in their life, and may you be blessed in your lives, that every day is a special gift. Thank you for listening today. Until next time, take care and may God bless. This is Natalie Silva.